In a move that has stunned both nations, Canada has abruptly closed the Alaska Highway, a decision that has sent shockwaves across North America. This action has severed the only land link between the continental United States and Alaska, effectively cutting off the state from the rest of the country by road. The sudden announcement from Ottawa has triggered a full-blown diplomatic crisis, leaving Alaska isolated and the world watching anxiously as events unfold. This closure is far more than a logistical headache. It's a direct challenge to decades of close US-Canada cooperation, trust, and shared history. Thousands of travelers and truckers now find themselves stranded at the border, unable to continue their journeys. Supply chains that keep Alaska stocked with food, fuel, and medicine are suddenly broken, and businesses on both sides of the border brace for devastating losses. The sight of Canadian authorities turning back American vehicles is a stark, unsettling symbol of how quickly even the strongest alliances can fracture under pressure. The Alaska Highway, once built during World War II as a symbol of unity and shared sacrifice, now stands transformed into a barrier, its legacy of cooperation overshadowed by today's crisis. In Washington, political tempers are flaring. The US government faces mounting pressure from citizens, businesses, and state officials to respond decisively as the nation grapples with the reality of Alaska's isolation. This is no longer just about a road. It's about sovereignty, national security, and the very future of the North American partnership that has endured for generations. As we unravel the layers of this crisis, we'll explore the history of the Alaska Highway, the reasons behind Canada's controversial decision, and the profound human cost of this northern blockade felt by families, workers, and entire communities. The story of the Alaska Highway crisis is more than a tale of closed borders. It is the story of a continent divided and the uncertain road that lies ahead. The Alaska Highway is more than a road. It's a feat of wartime engineering and international trust. Built in 1942 after Pearl Harbor, it was a vital military supply route, carved through harsh northern wilderness by over 10,000 US soldiers. After the war, it became Alaska's commercial lifeline, carrying billions in goods and connecting families and businesses. The highway's existence relies on a unique agreement, one nation hosting critical infrastructure for another, built on trust. For Alaskans, it's the only affordable route to the lower 48. Its closure isn't just a logistical problem. It's a blow to the spirit of cooperation that's defined US-Canada relations for 80 years. The highway's sudden blockade is a direct challenge to that legacy. It's a reminder that even the strongest partnerships can be tested. The stakes are higher than ever. On July 15, 2025, an unprecedented event unfolded. Canada abruptly closed the Alaska Highway to nearly all US traffic, sending shockwaves through both nations and leaving thousands in limbo. The official reason given was a combination of national security and environmental concerns, a rare move that underscored the seriousness of the situation. The immediate trigger was a massive American convoy dubbed Freedom Convoy 2. This group was protesting new US emissions regulations and had threatened to block access to Alaska's vital oil fields, raising fears of economic disruption and environmental risk. Canadian authorities, unable to secure concrete assurances from the US government about reining in the convoy, decided to act unilaterally and shut down the border crossing. Within just a few hours, more than 1,000 trucks and thousands of tourists found themselves stranded at the border, their plans upended and their futures uncertain. Essential goods worth millions of dollars were halted in transit, causing immediate shortages in Alaskan towns. Supermarket shelves began to empty, and rest stops along the 387-mile route overflowed with frustrated travelers and truckers. The White House quickly voiced deep concern, calling for urgent talks. But the loudest and most dramatic reaction came from former President Trump. He condemned the closure as a grave national insult, using fiery language that instantly escalated the crisis and dominated headlines across North America. The blockade rapidly became a political flashpoint, with lawmakers in both countries trading accusations and demanding swift action. The pressure on both governments mounted by the hour. As the standoff continued, the world's attention turned to the remote border. International newsrooms tracked every development, and people everywhere watched anxiously, aware that the outcome could have far-reaching consequences. The fate of Alaska's only land artery now hangs in the balance, with livelihoods, supply chains, and even diplomatic relations at stake. What began as a protest has spiraled into a full-blown international crisis, a true test of the resolve and cooperation between two of the world's closest allies. The next moves by both nations will not only determine the immediate future of the Alaska Highway, but could also reshape the broader relationship between the United States and Canada for years to come. Former President Trump wasted no time blasting Canada and Prime Minister Trudeau on social media. Within minutes of the announcement, his Twitter feed erupted with a series of scathing posts accusing Canada of undermining American interests and betraying a long-standing alliance. The tone was unmistakably combative, setting the stage for a dramatic escalation. "This is an act of betrayal," he declared, demanding immediate retaliation and tariffs on Canadian goods. Trump insisted that America must respond with strength, calling for sweeping economic measures and warning of severe consequences if Canada did not reverse its decision. At a Mar-a-Lago press conference, Trump called the closure a hostile act and accused the current administration of weakness. He claimed that the White House was failing to protect American jobs and sovereignty and vowed to take matters into his own hands if necessary. His rhetoric galvanized supporters and put congressional Republicans on the offensive. Across conservative media, Trump's message was echoed and amplified, fueling outrage and calls for action. The crisis quickly shifted from a diplomatic dispute to a partisan political weapon. Lawmakers seized the opportunity to score points, with heated debates erupting in Congress and on cable news. Trump's personal attacks on Trudeau reignited old rivalries, inflaming nationalist sentiment on both sides. Protests broke out in border towns, and social media buzzed with patriotic fervor as citizens rallied behind their leaders. The White House, under pressure, adopted a tougher stance, complicating back-channel negotiations. Officials scrambled to contain the fallout, but the atmosphere grew increasingly tense, with both sides digging in. The conflict is now deeply personal and political, making compromise harder. Trust between the two nations has eroded, and every move is scrutinized for signs of weakness or concession. Trump's intervention has raised the stakes, turning a border dispute into a test of American strength. The world is watching to see how far he will go and whether the situation will spiral further out of control. The risk: a rational solution may be lost in the noise of political theater. As politicians grandstand and the media frenzy intensifies, the path to resolution becomes increasingly obscured. The world is watching to see if cooler heads will prevail. Allies and adversaries alike are gauging America's response, aware that the outcome could reshape international alliances and trade. The crisis is now as much about pride as policy. With emotions running high and national identities at stake, the resolution of this standoff will define the relationship between the US and Canada for years to come. The economic fallout was immediate. Alaska's lifeline was cut. 75% of Alaska's goods arrive by land, most via the highway. Now shelves are emptying and prices are soaring. Air freight is the only alternative, but it's costly and limited. Truckers and small businesses are stranded, facing financial ruin as their trucks sit idle. Canadian towns along the route, dependent on American traffic, are eerily quiet. Construction projects in Alaska have halted, and the tourism season is collapsing. The closure exposes the fragility of relying on a single corridor for vital trade. Businesses are rethinking their future in Alaska, wary of political risk. The uncertainty threatens long-term investment and economic stability. The damage goes beyond dollars. It's a blow to confidence in the region's infrastructure. Even if the highway reopens, recovery will be slow and costly. The economic shockwaves will be felt for years. The human toll is mounting. Families on vacation are stranded in small Canadian towns, running out of money and options. Alaskans returning home, students, workers, military families, face abandoning vehicles or paying for expensive flights. The closure has separated families, cut off elderly relatives, and deepened Alaska's sense of isolation. Local Canadian communities are stretched thin, their patience tested by the influx of stranded Americans. Tensions are rising as resources dwindle. The crisis is measured in cancelled dreams and broken connections. Diplomatic relations have chilled. The US recalled its ambassador, and high-level talks are tense and unproductive. Canada insists the closure is about sovereignty and security, not aggression. Trudeau's firm stance is popular at home, while Washington sees Canada's move as an overreaction. The dispute centers on the Freedom Convoy too, protest or threat depending on the side. Trust is eroding, and the world is watching for signs of broader instability. The highway blockade has become a symbol of growing fractures in the Western alliance. Experts say this is more than a protest response. It's a calculated move in a larger geopolitical game. Canada, feeling its Arctic sovereignty challenged, seized the moment to assert control. The highway closure is asymmetric diplomacy. Canada can't match US power, but it can leverage its geography. The move forces Washington to the table, demanding respect for Canadian interests. The era of automatic US-Canada alignment is over. Ottawa is prepared for unpredictability. The crisis signaled a fundamental realignment in North American geopolitics. The US can no longer take Canadian compliance for granted. Resolving this will require more than demands. It needs genuine respect for Canada as a sovereign partner. The Alaska Highway is now a bargaining chip in a much bigger game. The outcome will redefine the relationship for years to come. The path forward is uncertain but urgent. Leaders must de-escalate and focus on the people caught in the crossfire. A temporary corridor for essential goods and stranded citizens could ease the crisis. The world is watching for compassion and wisdom, not just political posturing. Citizens can help by demanding thoughtful leadership and supporting those affected. This is a test of the US-Canada partnership's resilience. Reopening the highway means more than lifting a barricade. It means rebuilding trust. The journey to a stable, united North America is far from over, but it's worth the effort.